As you guys might have noticed, everybody's switching off of ChatGPT and moving over to Claude. People are talking about Claude Code and Claude bots, and it's all the rage here in 2026. And what I wanted to do is walk you through how to export all of your data conversations from ChatGPT so you don't lose any of that data and you can actually import it into Claude and use it in Claude Code. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to import everything from your GPT, how to essentially develop skill for Claude Code using that information. And another one would be how to use CoWork, Claude CoWork, to bridge the gap between just learning how to use the chat and learning how to use Claude Code. So stay tuned till the end, because at the end, I'll give you a special secret that helped me actually accomplish this way faster. So let's go ahead and dive. Now, if you don't know me, I'm Ian Ryan Kirk, aka Captain AI, and I started this channel to help bridge the gap between people that have no idea how to implement AI and all of the AI gurus that are just super overwhelming. This is an AI frontier that we're venturing in together. If that sounds interesting to you all, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, maybe like this video, and drop a comment down below if you have any questions specifically about things you want to learn with AI. So as you guys can see, I had a ton of GPTs that I built that were custom GPTs, lots of knowledge bases, lots of custom prompting. And I had a bunch of projects as well, as you can see over here, that I was using essentially because I didn't have access to something as powerful as Claude Code. Now, one of the drawbacks of doing it in the large language model was essentially it would get confused. It couldn't access the whole project. That's the gap that essentially Claude Code has bridged. It can hold all of that memory and it can access all of the data inside that project. So I need to move all of the chats into Claude and keep all the knowledge. So this is how you do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to just come down here to your settings, open up your settings. You're going to come in here to data controls, and you're simply just going to click export data right here. Now I've already done this and it won't allow me to do it again. So I'm not going to click this button because it gets confused. So the first one that you're actually going to see is not this one, and it gets confusing. Okay, so the first one that you're actually going to see is one of these, and you can see I clicked the button too many times. It's just going to tell you that your data export has started. And don't worry, if you have a lot of data, it is going to take a while. Mine took about 12 hours for it to actually deliver me the link for me to download. Now, the next email that you'll receive from OpenAI looks like this. I did this back on March 4th, and that was about 20 days ago. And it's sitting in a zip file, and I couldn't find it anywhere because it wasn't in, for some reason, my downloads file because I hadn't put it out. So guess what I did? I used Claude Code to find it. Let me show you how I did that. So here I am inside of Claude Desktop. And you can see up here at the top, I'm in the code section, and I just simply vibe coded with it and told it the date that I downloaded it and that I couldn't find it. And the reason I couldn't find it, I guess, was it was in my downloads, but it was labeled with some crazy zip file. And so all I asked it to do is that I wanted to move that into my Claude project, which I now labeled as my GPT knowledge, and told it to extract it and moved it over into that project. That's how powerful Claude Code can be, and that saved me a ton of time. Okay, and just a quick review, like what we're trying to do is, as you can see here, I have over 655 conversations with ChatGPT. According to Claude, is a gold mine of information over the past year. Now, I did everything from analyzing Zoom call transcripts to help me write online community posts that were two-step posts. I also used it to be able to interact inside my DMs I could move people from indecision into making a decision. Now, all of that data could be completely lost if I just leave it over in ChatGPT or cancel my monthly membership over there. But I want to migrate that data over into Claude Code and start to actually build things in Claude Code that I can share with other people that aren't just custom GPTs. They could actually be software that people could use and interact with. And I could actually collect data from those users, just like the big guys do. And I'm talking about the big guys like Facebook and Amazon and all of these other platforms that are always collecting data on their user bases. So I'll show this without check marks next because I did a screenshot. So in using CoWork, I asked it essentially, I need to go through all of these conversations. And what we need to do is I need to pull out information that I can use in Claude Code as what we would call skills. And so what it did is, as you can see over here, it developed a plan to actually do a deep dive through all of my chat conversations to look at them and rebuild skills in a markdown format, and then run a test case and generate essentially an entire plan to export each one of those so I can put them into individual projects that I'm working on in Claude Code. And this is the list that Claude CoWork actually came up with, which was a README file, my specific brand voice, also a cold email skill, as well as sales script skill, a content creation skill, a prompt library, and a business strategy skill. And so now each one of those can be either put into a global skill basis, or I can put them into individual projects. That project can access that specific skill that essentially ChatGPT learned, and then now I'm going to use it to teach Claude the exact same thing. And so you might be asking yourself, all right, well, Ian, like, why is this so much more valuable than, let's say, just a custom GPT? Well, thanks. If I actually come down here on my website, what I can show you is in my section, Start Where You Are. If I come in here into essentially my custom DM copywriter, I click on it, it's not going to take me to a GPT. It's going to take me into my own software. The one that I haven't converted yet is a business clarity coach. So let me just show you the difference here. If I click on this one, this is what's going to pop up there. So here's what comes up, right? And now what's happening here is somebody is logged into their own chat GPT. And now every interaction, right, that they have with this clarity coach, all of the data is owned inside of their account. And so I don't have access to any of it. So I can't improve the model. I can't improve the product. All I can do is just give them a bunch of free guidance and information. Now check out how it's different if you own the software. Okay, so now we're back on my website. We're just going to click on this DM method. And as you'll see, like, it brings up a completely different website, completely branded along my brand, same colors, same everything. Shows you the data of what this has actually been able to do. Quick little promo video from me, then walks you through like some of the do's and don'ts that are part of the framework, then gives you an example of how the rewrite actually works and why it works, breaks down the framework so that you know exactly why this framework actually has worked for thousands of DM sends between people that were stuck in inaction and moved into action. Goes through the 9-step framework, and then at the very end is going to actually give you a spot down here at the bottom where you can enter your own DM conversation and get live coaching from this model. So now look at the differences here, right? One, you're inside ChatGPT. Everyone knows it's ChatGPT. Here, you have no idea which LLM model I'm actually using to create these frameworks and to give the coaching on what actually they need to be doing. Now, the biggest difference is that all the interactions here are being stored inside of a Supabase database. So this model is continuously learning what the users have questions with, what their main problems are, and I'm also able to track everybody that actually uses this service. So in all other DM conversations, I would always have this custom GPT analyze them. And as you can see, there are a ton of different conversations and chat strings in here that it did analysis on. The issue here is that I can't get it to improve or make changes to itself because it can't access or remember all of these chats. Like even if I ask it up here, find me a great example of a chat that went from somebody in indecision and into somebody that made a decision. Like in chat, it's not going to be able to find this because it's going to cheat and not actually go through all of them. It's going to kind of lie and come up with whatever it thinks it maybe should say, but it's not going to actually access all of the data and give you something that's actually useful or tangible. Like I don't even know what it did here. What did it do? Here's a clean, highly converting example. No, I don't want a friggin' example. I don't want an example. I want an actual DM thread that we were working on to try to help move somebody from inaction into action. Use one of the actual transcripts that we worked on previous. Okay, so what chat found was a typical objection of somebody saying something like this. Hey man, appreciate the call earlier. I'm just sticking it through everything right now. I like the idea, just not sure which direction makes the most sense for us between whatever it is. Also want to make sure this would actually work alongside what we're already doing. Pretty technical, pretty typical response that you would always get. And then it's telling me what my next move was, right? And so and remember, like I couldn't keep all of this data. I turned this into like a tool where somebody could use it as a custom GPT, but I can if it's my own software, like in here. So if I just come back in, let's just paste that in and slap my DMs. All right, so I want to come back over here into CoWork and just kind of like that we were working on developing a brand voice from all of those chats that I had over there. We also found that as ChatGPT's chats were exported, there were certain things like that I had to let it know that some of these skills that I developed were based around other courses I had taken. So whether that was Brendan Kane's ability to write video scripts, or whether it was Eli Wild storytelling frameworks based around putting online school community posts up, I wanted to make sure that it knew what the separate skills were so that it could actually make separate files for each one. And then like always, of course, after it comes up with an entire plan of what it wants to do, how it wants to separate each one of those skills, I'm always going to ask it before we proceed, is there anything that I'm missing that would optimize this even better than it is currently? And you'll always notice that it will come back and tell you some suggestions. And it came up with like 5 that I hadn't thought of. One was that, my backstory was missing, and it told me that if it doesn't know what my backstory is, Claude will invent generic stories. And that's not okay with me. Also, it didn't know how to use emojis. I do use emojis, but it didn't know how to use them. Another thing is that it didn't have any signature vocabulary. So what I did is I told it that I never wanted to ever make anything up. and that I am working on a book that does explain and gave it context as to how to access that information. But I just really wanted to make sure it just doesn't make up info, always asks me clarifying questions. So, at this point, you would have been able to get all of your data exported out of OpenAI and ChatGPT. You've been able to use CoWork to analyze all of that data and give you the skills that you should probably develop and build as markdown files and put into either individual projects in Claude Code or as a global skill over all of your projects in Claude Code. Now, everyone's going to have different results because they have different chats and different skill that they're going to have developed. So as you saw with mine, it came up with 6, which was a master README file, a master voice, cold email, sales scripts, content creation, a prompt library, and business strategy. Now, for you and how you use ChatGPT, yours might be a little bit different, but in another video, I'm going to show you exactly how to implement each one of these into a Claude project so that it can keep learning and keep growing with you, and how to maybe use that same exact skill as a front-end software that you can be offering as a product or a service to the public to keep gaining more data and more information, and growing this skill knowledge base. And the big surprise for the end is, of course, you can actually do a free trial with any of that software. And then as people actually use it and love it, they can actually pay you to use the software on a monthly basis. So you could actually develop a reoccurring revenue from the skills that you originally developed inside ChatGPT. Well, if you liked this video and you found it useful, go ahead and hit that like button, smash that subscribe. And here at Captain AI, we're all about venturing into this new frontier and keeping it as simple as possible so that you can actually use AI to 10x your outputs and not get overwhelmed by all the gurus telling you all of the latest stuff and feeling overwhelmed. So if that sounds interesting to you, I will see you in the next one.